Hey guys, we are doing two-step equations with distributive property in them. So let's look at slide 2. So two different ways we can do this. You can actually distribute the number. Sometimes that's actually easier, but we can also do something called clearing it out. So I'm going to show you that first. Remember that when we solve two-step or multi-step equations, we are basically doing inverse order of operations. So for this problem, the first thing, if we were doing order of operations, we would do is solve the parentheses. That would be step 1, and then this would be step 2. But since we're doing it reverse, we're actually going to start by getting rid of that -7 and then do the stuff inside the parentheses. So in order to do that, we are going to, it's multiplication, so I'm going to divide by -7 on both sides. Okay. So I have 7 going into 133. 7 goes into 13 one time. 6 left over, bring down my 3. 7 goes into 63 9 times. Exactly. So I have 1 plus 5p equals -19. Okay, and now it kind of just looks like the same two-step problems we've done before. So they're adding a 1, so I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. 5p on this side. On the other side, they're the same sign, right? Keep, change, change means this is a negative plus a negative. So I'm going to add them. Gives me -20. And then I can divide by 5 on both sides. So I end up with p equals, and I just like to keep this simple. I mean, never mind. For this one, you can just divide it out. So 20 divided by 5 is 4. Negative divided by positive is negative. So p equals -4 for my answer. All right, same idea for this one. Let's start by getting rid of that 3. So we're going to divide 3 out. Divide 3 from both sides. 0.4 plus 4n equals, and I'm going to do 3 going into 9.6, goes in 3 times, subtract, bring down 2 times. So I have that this equals 3.2. Then I'm going to subtract 0.4. So I have 4n equals, do a little borrowing here. And that gives me 2.8. And then finally divide by 4. Divide by 4. So n equals, I'm going to do 4 into 2.8. Goes into 2 0 times, goes into 28 7 times. Because 7 times 4 is 28. So n equals 0.7, and that is my final answer. Okay, so this time we've got this fraction out here. So same idea, we're going to divide by that 2/3. Divide by 2/3. So 24 minus k equals, and on the other side I have 16 over 1 divided by 2 over 3. We want to keep change reciprocal, so 16 over 1 times 3 over 2. I would cross simplify here. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, 16 divided by 2 is 8, and then 8 times 3 is 24. So I have 24 minus k equals 24. Then remember, we think of these like their terms. So this is a positive or a plus 24, so I'm going to subtract 24. So I have -k equals 0. And then I don't really want to know what the opposite of k is. I want to know what k is. So this is like a -1k. So I would divide by -1, divide by -1, which leaves me k equals 0. That last step looks a little weird here because it's a 0, but just I'm going to do something different off to the side here just to kind of show you. So pretend like I had -k equals -10 instead, while when I do divide by -1 on both sides, it changes this to a positive 10. So k equals positive 10. So just keep that in mind. If you get an answer where it says the opposite of your variable, so negative variable equals whatever answer, you're going to have to change the sign for your answer. That's kind of important. We always want to know what the variable is, not what the opposite of the variable is. Okay, let's get rid of that 1/5. So again, you could distribute it. I'm going to show you to distribute on this one, A, because it's going to be a lot easier, and B, just so that we kind of see what it looks like. So if I distribute here and here, 1/5 times 5 over 1, and I simplify, that's just 1. So I have negative 1b, or negative b. And then I have 1/5 times 15 over 1. Again, I'm going to simplify here. Is going to give me 3. A negative times a negative is positive, so plus 3 equals 12. And now I can solve normal, so I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. I have negative b equals 9. And this is what we were just talking about on the last slide. So if that's the opposite of b, I'm going to divide by negative 1 and get that b equals positive 9. You totally could have canceled out that 1/5 by multiplying by the reciprocal, right? And you would still get 9 as your answer either way. Okay, so for this one, I can't just cancel out this 8 because I've got this extra plus 2 right here. So I really do need to distribute this time. Oopsies. So I'm going to distribute here. 8 over 1 times 1 over 8. Simplify that down, gives me 1. Negative times negative is positive, so I just get p left over. Then I've got 8 times 8 is 64. Negative times positive is negative, so minus 64. Bring down this plus 2 equals negative 14. Now I can continue to solve this normal. I'm going to actually combine these two like terms. So I really have p minus 62 equals negative 14. Then I'm going to add 62 to both sides. Different sign subtract, so 62 minus 14, borrow here. I get 48. Keep the sign of the larger number, which was the 62, so it's positive 48 for p equals positive 48. Okay, I would again distribute on this one because again, we've got this extra thing right here. On that previous problem, you could have started by subtracting the 2 over to the side first instead of distributing. If you would prefer to do that, you can totally do that. But for this problem, I can't really do that because it's got this variable in it. So I am going to distribute here. So 2/3 times r is 2/3 r minus 2/3 times 12. 2/3 times 12 over 1. Cross simplify again. Looks like I'm going to get 2 times 4, which is 8. So minus 8. Bring down my plus 3. R equals 3. Again, I'm going to combine some like terms. So I've got 2/3 r plus 3r. So I've really got 3 and 2/3 r minus 8 equals 3. And then we can work with this fraction, or you could clear the fraction. Since it's just the one fraction, I'm just going to work with it, I think, just to keep from having to do too many steps. So I'm going to add 8 on both sides. So I've got 3 and 2/3 r equals 8 plus 3, which is 11. And then I'm going to divide 3 and 2/3, divide 3 and 2/3. So I've got 11 over 1 divided by 3 and 2/3. I need to cartwheel this around. So really 11 over 1 divided by, multiply and then add, so 9, 10, 11 thirds. Then I'm going to keep change reciprocal. So I really have 11 over 1 times 3 over 11. I would cross simplify right here. So I'm really just getting 3. So r equals 3, and that's it. Not as bad as it looked. Alrighty, so I'm just going to show you how to clear this one out one more time. You could totally distribute it. It's not that bad, but I am going to instead divide by -3/4. Remember, it's always kind of just a personal choice. Think about, maybe just look at the numbers, think about what you think is going to be easier and go with it. Okay, so if I divide this out, I get -2x plus 8 equals 6/1 divided by 3/4. Keep change reciprocal, so 6/1 times 4/3. Cross simplify here. So 2 times 4 is 8. So I'm getting -8 because positive times negative. And then I'm going to subtract 8. On this side, oopsies, I just get -2x. On the other side, keep, change, right? I'm adding these same signs, add and keep. So I'm getting -16. Then I can divide by -2, divide by -2, and I end up with x equals 16 divided by 2 is 8, negative divided by negative is positive, so x equals +8. And that's it, you guys.